Welcome to another repair video. We'll see how this works. Today, I need to fix this Sennheiser. It's not Sennheiser, Senco. This one is a little leaky. I actually got it as a set, I think it's like 20 years ago, and I believe for my birthday from my father, because I'm sure that he wanted me to come help him do some finishing work. Thanks, Dad. And it worked fabulously for a long time. Eventually ended up getting some leakage on the threads, recently pulled it off, and turns out that even after retaping it from the connector, still giving an air leak, and it won't even hold pressure above like 20 pounds. Pretty sure the regulator is busted, so I think we're gonna have to replace that. But before replacing something, I always like to figure out exactly what the problem is, so we're gonna take this apart and see if we can't discover whatever the issue is. Today we are working with a 1/2 horsepower, a 1-gallon Senco Air Compressor. I should have fixed this years ago because I've been dragging around a 5-gallon unit that's really heavy and extremely loud. And one of my favorite things about this air compressor is it's actually pretty quiet. Unfortunately though, the leak has gotten so bad that it won't hold any pressure and won't even make it past about 50 pounds. Definitely seems like the leak though is coming from the regulator, more specifically right around where the valve is. So we'll start by pulling the tension knob off. The tension rings are in the way of getting to the screws, so I'm just going to remove all of these as well, and then it'll give me just enough space to get to those screws, and we can get the back plate off along with this spring. A little bit of corrosion, although not surprised to find that in an old unit like this. Now that we got it apart, you can definitely see that the flow stopper right here should all be one piece, but it seems to have broken off. So it makes sense that air was just pushing right through and it was unable to hold itself at whatever tension the spring was giving it for the pressure. So I went ahead and ordered a brand new replacement regulator. Now to fully remove the base of the old regulator, gonna need to remove the gauge because it will hit the tank down below. There just wasn't enough space here. So we'll go ahead and pull out our trusty Craftsman wrench and socket set. I actually got this set about 20 years ago as well. After I got out of the military, I went to mechanic school, and this was the first set I bought back when Sears had a lifetime guarantee. Not sure if that's still good, but hey, everything's been holding up great, and all the socket drivers are working flawlessly, so no complaints from me. Now here, back to the regulator valve. Got everything disconnected, no problems. Nothing was too tight and didn't strip anything. We got our new replacement regulator unit in. Pretty much an exact replica, although it does have this extra port here that has a stopper, unlike this one that didn't have it. So if you wanted to either flip some things around or maybe add a second gauge so you could see it from a different angle. Before screwing this all back together, I'm just going to clean up the threads a little bit. Also, don't show it in this shot, but I did hit it with the vacuum real quick to pull and suck anything out of this after that. Then I'm just going to use a little bit of thread tape. Not necessary, there wasn't any on here before. But since we pulled the threads out and we put them back in, just a little bit extra insurance. Now, if one of these threads had been reversed, would have been able to screw this on in one shot, but I'm gonna have to pull it apart and get it right down to the base so I can rotate it all the way around with the tank in the way. I could not get the top knob off like I could the previous unit, so I just unscrewed the rings at the bottom just to give myself enough space while unscrewing the bolts that connect to the back plate. Then I'll set this extra spring aside, make sure we don't lose any of those parts. And just taking a look, we can see that this unit has a fully molded connected valve plug. Once I had the regulator unit down to just the base plate, then screwed it on till it was pretty snug. Not gonna over tighten it or mess with the threads too much. Just get it where it's just right by hand tightening it. No need for any wrenches, and it should seat just fine. Gonna get the regulator valve all back together, get the connector and the gauge on there, and we should be good. So see, it's a little bit loose. I'm just gonna kind of push it over a little bit, just kind of get it tight. But again, no need to over tighten these. Getting it right to hand tighten or maybe a quarter turn past with a wrench will do just fine. And here we can see with the gauge, she is holding pressure wonderfully. So no need to break out the soapy water to check for leaks. Unit is doing great. But for a final test, we'll go ahead and throw some nails into some scrap framing and make sure that it's working as it should. And a successful repair, no problem. So happy about that. So we'll go ahead and drain it. And now she'll be ready for our next woodworking project. If you found this repair helpful, or you just want to support seeing more videos like these, hit that like button, maybe leave a comment, or subscribe for more content in the future.